The 2025 NFL season is over as the Seattle Seahawks are your new Super Bowl champions, defeating the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara, California, 29-13. What does this mean for our Chicago Bears for next year? We'll give you our sort of predictions coming up. In basketball, the Bulls, the take-a-thon is on. We hope. As they drop one at home to Nikolai Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. In college basketball, the final line dropped from 5 to 8 in the AP poll, losing in overtime to Michigan State on the road. In baseball, spring training starts later this week, baby. Both the Cubs and the Sox are reporting to their spring training sites later on this week. And we have a special guest joining the show, especially for you folks out there in White Sox Twitter. You know this guy. You love this guy. He's going to join us coming up. You want to know who it is? Stay tuned. That and a whole lot more. So Monday Extravaganza starts now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one, a drive into left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his fourth of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Armstrong gets into another one. Sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Binnington. No chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a catch. Buzelis with the fake on the drive.
Tuesday motions left. They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Love will catch. Breaks away the 30. Love the 20. Love the 10. Love the end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to the Monday Extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss LaKeena McGee, which is she. Sidney Brown here, you know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee, all the Twitter, X, and IG.
Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're the Honor Project Fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion, do not 2 hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. You better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given LaKeena full powers to give you dumpos to Bill and beer boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must shout out to our live gang, and that's LIVE Live Entertainment Gang. That's checking us out live in the living color at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay, also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto: we talk sports, music, and or entertainment. We will provide.
We provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. Of course, we got our buddy, our new buddy, Sid knows him, but our buddy Pete Fonseca from the Chicago Sports Bums. He'll talk as pitchers and catchers report. We'll talk White Sox. They're bringing back a couple of old friends to the fold here, as of course, like I said, pitcher and catchers have already arrived in some, and also I think most of the teams are already there already on both sides of town. So we'll talk to him about that. Also, the Bears as well, and what he thinks the Bears will do and should do during the off season. Also, of course, the Illini lose a tough one to Michigan State on Saturday. And now Michigan, of course, with their win over Ohio State yesterday, they now retake the lead in the Big Ten standings for the rest of the weekend in college hoops. Also, the Bulls, Kobe White trade spender said that because of, he failed his physical. So only the Bulls, but we'll talk about that. And And of course, they lose a tough one to Jokic, Murray, and the Nuggets, and also some more record-setting weekend in the NBA. Of course, we'll have an Olympic update as well as the U.S. so far has taken home 2 gold medals in the first full weekend of the games are in the books. There are some events going on right now, including hockey as we speak. So we'll talk about that too. Old School TV Monday, of course, time permitting, and a lot more. But first, of course, the topic of the day is the Super Bowl 60, which commenced last night at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. Will it be one for the record books? Well, unless you're a Seahawks fan of the Seahawks defense. Of course, the Seahawks dominated the Patriots 29-13. Sam Darnold threw for 202 yards and a TD, while Kenneth Walker III, 135 yards. Cooper Kupp gets his second ring. He has 61 receiving yards to lead the way there, but it was the defense. We've been talking about that defense all season long. They picked off Drake May twice. They sacked him 6 times. They just couldn't get the Patriots offense just couldn't get it going. And it was basically all Seahawks from here. And I have my own druthers with some of this stuff, but I'll talk about that in a second here. But dominating performance by Seattle. I think that defense really is, Devon Witherspoon had the sack fumble that's forced the score. The score there by Uchenna Nwasu that kind of put the game away officially. Look, like I said, I know people will say this was a boring Super Bowl, blah, 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 but may I remind you all about that Super Bowl 53 between the Patriots and the Rams? I remember I said on the show when I was doing the show on Thursday back at the old State Street Studios. Mm-hmm. That's 3.5 hours I would not get back. At least there was some stuff that happened last night on this Super Bowl, but I digress. But Sid, what did you think about the game and such?
It was first of all, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl. It was a very dominating performance last night, despite New England putting up some points in garbage time at the end, 13 to be exact in the fourth quarter. As you mentioned, we said it all year, though Seahawks defense is very good, and NBC pointed out on the telecast last night in a beautiful, much improved fancy graphics that the Seahawks led the league in scoring defense this year, giving up a total of average of 17.2 points per game. That's right, 17.2 points per game. As you mentioned, it got to Drake May 6 times. Let's give some credit here to Derek Hall, Byron Murphy II, DeMarcus Lawrence, Kobe Bryant, no, not the one you're thinking about, Rick Woolen, Devin Witherspoon, who had an interesting post-game interview, well, I'm sure we'll get today in due time, Drake Thomas, Michael Dickerson, and Jaron Reed. Those are some of the no-name defense, no-name guys from the Seattle Seahawks defense who did their jobs last night. Now, offensively, Jackson Smith and Jibba wasn't a non-factor. Yes, he went out with a concussion, did come back into the game. But as we told you guys last Friday on the show, Kenneth Walker III was going to be a factor. Of course, he picked up Super Bowl MVP, rushing 27 times for 135 yards. Sam Darnold did not have his best performance, but he didn't need to have his best performance because other guys around him stepped up. So as we talked about with the Seahawks all year with their defense, offensively, their best player, i.e. Jackson Smith and Jimmy, did not show up, but it was other guys like Rashid Shaheed and A.J. Barner who scored the lone touchdown of the game in that fourth quarter for Seattle to pull it away. So it was an all-around team effort for Seattle. Congratulations to them. New England on the flip side, Drake May, as I said on the show last Friday and during our preview segment, if you have him have more rush yards than Ramondre Stevenson and Trevion Henderson, it's going to be a problem. Well, they effed around and found out, and it was a hard way to lose their first and only game from Gillette Stadium this year. Once again, congratulations to the Seahawks on being your Super Bowl 60 champions.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, LaKeena, McGee, City Brown with you as we recap Super Bowl 60, which commenced last night. I would also say that Ernest Jones IV, he led the way in tackles. He had 10 solo tackles. He was just a beast on that. Just made mincemeat of that Patriots O-line. Will Campbell, of course, who was the left guard for the Patriots, didn't want to talk. And well, can you blame him? I mean, I think you probably, I think that's the last thing you want to do is talk to someone when you're just got manhandled by that front seven. Nick Emory, who there was some questions that he would even play because I know he sprained his ankle in practice late Thursday. Well, he had 4 solo tackles, 5 tackles in total yesterday there as well. Jason Myers, of course, he actually got the most points in the Super Bowl. He was 5 for 5 for field goals and a couple of extra points. So you probably could have said that he could have won MVP, but we knew that they're not gonna give it to a place kicker. So, but you probably could have made a case. So it ended up being Kenneth Walker the third. The first running back, you got to go all the way back to 32 with Terrell Davis. He's the eighth. He's the eighth running back to win Super Bowl MVP. Yes, it's been that long, folks, since this running back has won MVP, and deservedly so. I think he's the one that kind of kept that offense going, and he was one of the few bright spots of that offense. He kept plays moving when Seattle needed a play to keep drives going. He did that, and he was definitely worthy of that. And I remember him when he was at Michigan State. He was actually second team All Big Ten a couple of times when he was there, and I know his dad doesn't like to travel much, but he did travel to Santa Clara to see him in the Super Bowl. So I'm sure that was a great moment. I'm sure he's glad he didn't miss that performance by him. Now, Sam Darnold is interesting because he becomes the first quarterback to win with his 5th different team. And if you're in Minnesota, you're probably kicking yourselves because you probably wonder, like, maybe this could happen with him if the Vikings, but what else? But yeah, he's the first one out of that class of that 2018 class with Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen to win a Super Bowl, but also the first USC starting QB to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, that sounds weird, but that's another stat too. So you're happy for them. You're happy also for guys like Leonard Williams, his 11th year in the league, played for both New York teams. He got a ring. DeMarcus Lawrence, he played for the Cowboys for years. He finally gets his ring. So you feel good for some of the veterans out there. And this is the Seattle defense, the Seattle team in general, especially, that could be built to win. I'm not gonna say they're gonna do it, but they're built to kind of be in contention for a while for Super Bowls.
Yeah, so like I said, the NFC West, we saw how competitive it was this past season. I do not expect it to be any less going into 2026. A couple things. Sam Darnold, you mentioned, he didn't have a great game, 19 of 38, 202 yards and a touchdown pass. He was only sacked once. Let's give the Seattle Seahawks offensive line credit as well. They protected Sam Darnold very well last night because we talked about it on our preview segment last Friday on the show. New England, they like to play a lot of zone. A lot of man, I should say, and they like to blitz slide. They came after Sam Darnold pretty well, especially in that first half last night. That was the only reason why they were in the game. But the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, give them credit. They only let Sam Darnold get knocked down one time in terms of a sack, and they kept Sam Darnold upright. Now we know that Sam Darnold is not a scrambling quarterback, but he got out of some tough situations, made some tough throws, like you said, to Kenneth Walker III and Cooper Kupp, who stepped up in the receiving department with Jackson Smith and Jimba being injured. Cooper Kupp, 6 catches, 61 yards off of 12 targets. So you had to give the credit to those guys. Also, too, let's give much love to Mike McDonald. Y'all be there. Sorry for my horrible singing voice. The third youngest head coach in history to win the Super Bowl at age 38. Of course, Mike Tomlin. I forgot who the other one was that the one at age 36.
Sean McVay. Sean McVay. Remember that
Sean McVay,
Rams Super Bowl against Cincy.
Yeah, the 21. Yeah, in 2021. Yeah, thank you. So Mike McDonald becoming the third youngest at age 38 to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if you saw his immediate reaction last night, LaKeena. That was not fake, folks. That was real. He was taking it all in with the confetti coming down, with the fireworks going off. Remember, he started off as an intern, coaching intern at Baltimore in 2014. Now, 12 years later, he's a Super Bowl champion. So those are the kind of stories that you like to hear. Of course, Sam Darnold winning his first Super Bowl with his 5th team. You know, we talked about his career going for the Jets to the Carolina Panthers. Of course, yeah, this is Sam Darnold's. People forget this is his second appearance in the Super Bowl. He was with the 49ers a couple years ago when they lost in overtime in Vegas to the Kansas City Chiefs. Remember, he was a backup, didn't play that year. So Darnold has some experience there, and you can appreciate a story like his. He's a very humble man. I know there was some shots that was taken at him early in his career, but he persevered, like you said in an interview with Melissa Stark last night. Faith was rewarded with that contract in the offseason, leaving Minnesota, and now he's rewarded with a Super Bowl.
And also Derek Hall, he's on the special teams. He plays special teams for the Seahawks. He was born at just 23 weeks with no heartbeat. Doctors only gave him a 1% chance to survive, but his mother refused to turn off. She didn't turn off, to her credit, she didn't turn off the life support machines. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. So these are the kind of stories that you love. Guys who have gone through obstacles, guys who have persevered, that guys that come from humble beginnings. So this is the kind of thing you want when you think about the Super Bowl. Sometimes the score doesn't really tell the whole story. Finding out what these guys are and such, and I saw that after the game, where after the clock went 0 and it was official, Seattle won. Seeing Coach McDonald kind of take it all in, and like you said, this guy was a business major at Georgia. He got his MBA, and he was working at a corporate office just a few years ago before he went and took a chance, and he walked on at the Georgia football team and decided to get his MBA and such because he didn't think that it was right for him, but. His family encouraged, to his credit, his father especially encouraged him to try football and see what. I think right around the time he met his wife, they encouraged him to go into coaching and see what happens. Like you said, started as an intern, became DC over with the Ravens. Now went there just his second year. Now has a Super Bowl. So you gotta love those kinds of stories.
Yeah. And perseverance and sticking to it and being consistent, that's what it's all about. Speaking of Mike McDonald, him and Miss Maria Taylor of NBC Sports, who made history of her own last night, becoming the first Black woman to host the Super Bowl on television and present the Super Bowl trophy. She did that last night. Her and Coach McDonald of the Seattle Seahawks are former classmates at that high school in Georgia. So they made some history right now. I'm sure those high school reunions are going to be much more special now since both of them made history last night. So congratulations to Miss Maria Taylor. Congratulations to John Schneider, the GM of the Seattle Seahawks. I know he had a tough decision to make a couple years ago, get rid of Pete Carroll, but it was all for the best, and it's paying off now. Continue to draft great young players, filling their roles, and look what's happening now.
We'll take a quick break. Of course, we'll still talk a little bit more about the game, about the halftime shows, and any studs and does. Of course, we got to do our last studs and does for the season, and also ads, if you liked any of the ads, and also how does this pertain to the Bears and their chance perhaps of going to the Super Bowl next year down over in just about like 3 hours down from Levi Stadium at SoFi. So we'll have that and so much more. We'll even talk some NBA as well. The Bulls, they were bullying, not in a good way.
Take it on.
And also some record-breaking performances this weekend to the NBA. So LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More Super Bowl and NBA talk coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you live this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to the Monday extravaganza edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded in. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. LaKeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and again IG.
We're going to dive into just a little bit more Super Bowl talk and, of course, get into the Bulls and NBA and time permitting college basketball for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the opening screen for you.
Let's just put a little couple of cappers here for the Super Bowl 6 before we go into the Bears and how it affects them and then such. But yeah. Do you have any favorite commercials? I know some of the commercials were not very good, in my opinion. Probably the Lay's one, the heartwarming one with the dad, teaching his daughter farming and such. Now she's teaching her daughter, and he passes the torch and retires and to her. I thought the Matthew McConaughey, Bradley Cooper, Uber Eats one was decent, even though I didn't know at the time what they were talking about, but. And also, I think the third one, the Duncan one, was a little bit weird. You had all the 90 stars. You saw Jennifer Aniston, Jaleel White, Alfonso Ribeiro, among others. That was a kind of a weird commercial. Mm-hmm. So, did you see any commercials that stood out, or did you like?
Yeah, it was a Jasmine guy in there. I thought I saw her in there too.
I thought I saw her in there too. Yeah. I think she was there. I think a few other folks were there too. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I've been down on the commercials for the last 25 years. Of course, social media has ruined it over the last decade because leaks have been put out there leading up to the big game, and so unfortunately, unlike back in the day, LaKeena, we didn't have all this technology. We couldn't wait to watch the commercials, but now social media has ruined everything. But I'm with you. That's Dunkin' Donuts commercial was interesting. Don't forget, Tom Brady was standing next to Jennifer Aniston in the end of that Dunkin' Donuts ad too. So with that ugly hair, but I digress. But
that was a wig, I'm sure.
Yeah. Coinbase had a commercial. Rock Your, they used the 1990s Backstreet Boys song "Rock Your Body." Of course, they changed the lyrics a little bit to advertise their website. That was the only other commercial that stuck out to me. But all the other ones, I wasn't really paying attention to. I was waiting for the game to come back on. So, but like I said, I've been out on the just watching for the commercials for the last quarter century.
Yeah, and Bad Bunny, of course. Now I'll admit, I don't know. I can't name you a Bad Bunny song. I kind of kept it in the background. So, but yeah. So but I thought, look, I'm glad that you saw Lady Gaga, Ricky Martin. So it ended up being like the highest rated Super Bowl viewed halftime show. So breaking Kendrick Lamar's record just last year. So okay, cool, good. Look, that's cool. Good for him. And look, I'm glad that Latin music's finally, kind of like in the mainstream. So that was actually really, really cool being the main act there. Excuse me. Now, studs and duds real quick for Super Bowl 60. All right, I think Sid's internet's a little
being a Super Bowl MVP with 27 carries and 135 yards. My second stud will go to Mr. Derek Hall. He had 2 sacks for the Seattle Seahawks, number 58, along with 2 tackles, 2 solo. And my third stud will go to Cooper Kupp, filling in nicely for injured Jackson Smith and Jimba. 6 catches for 61 yards.
Yeah, I'll say the whole Seattle defense. That's my those are my studs. Jason Myers, who I think should have won MVP. He had, like I say, he had 5 for 5 field goals. 12 points. That's the most by any place kicker in the Super Bowl. And Clint Kubiak. I mean, he played a great offensive game plan. He gave the ball to Kenneth Walker III. If you like defense and running backs, this is the kind of game that you like, for this. So, and he's on his way to, I think he's already in Vegas as we speak, to officially sign his contract to be the new coach of the Raiders. So those are my my 3 studs. Duds, just the entire Patriots team. I mean, they just couldn't get it going. Their defense. Look, I will say this. I'll give a bonus to losing out for Christian Gonzalez. That score would have been a lot worse if he had not saved about 2 or 3 touchdowns. So
yeah, I agree.
Good on him. But yeah, just not a good game plan. Josh McDaniels, probably his worst game call in any Super Bowls he's been in. And but also the whole pregame show with Alcatraz, that whole thing is just like, what was the point in that for NBC? Incidentally, the guys that were doing the Alcatraz, I think it was Jack Collinsworth, Tony Dungy, and I think Ronnie Harrison. They never showed them after that. So are they still there? Are they at Alcatraz? Did they find DB Cooper? I don't know. But those are my duds.
Yeah, just to wrap it all up for me, my biggest dud is the Patriots running game. As a team, 18 carries for 79 yards and no touchdowns. Average 4.4 yards per rush. Drake May, as I said on last Friday on the show, if he leads the Patriots in rushing, they're going to be in trouble. Yeah, guess what? They were in trouble. Ramondre Stevenson, 7 carries, 23 yards. My guy, Trevion Henderson, the rookie running back from Ohio State, 6 carries for 19 yards. Although they should have given him the ball a little bit more, but as I said in the open, give the Seattle Seahawks credit for limiting opportunities for that Patriots offense. It was the Patriots defense that kept New England in the ball game in that first half.
All right, so as we put a capper on the football season, people are asking about the Bears and do they got a shot at winning? I think I saw the odds; they were like 12 plus 1,200. This is very early odds, folks, but they're saying like a plus 1,200. Remember that? Like I said, they already changed the logo. ESPN is probably already doing their first pregame show for the Super Bowl 61 because it's going to be on ABC and ESPN next year out there at SoFi Stadium on Valentine's Day in 27.
Yeah.
But do you think the Bears have a shot to perhaps maybe contend for a Super Bowl next year?
Of course they have a shot, but let's see what they do in free agency. As we talked about, it seems like 1,000 times on this show, we'll talk about it as the new league year begins next month in March. They need a pass rusher. How does G and Ryan Pauls go about that? I'm sure I know that he has a plan. Will it come to fruition? How he goes about it, we'll see. I know they're just a little bit over the cap space, but that's going to be worked out so they can get that done. And LaKeena, I think we're just 2 weeks away from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. It is so great not to go in there now. They like I said, they still need a pass rusher. They still need a left tackle, but you could go in there not in a sense of desperation. Now you just draft people to fill in depth, to fill in holes within your roster instead of going in there trying to finesse folks and try to be desperate and try to move up in the draft. Maybe Ryan Post still has obviously when it comes to draft, I think they'll be picking 25th if I'm not mistaken. So, the draft is not as important as it has been in years past when you were rebuilding, but it's nice to go into it like, okay, we could not quite, but almost pick the best player on the board. They still need a pass rusher, and they need a left tackle. But outside of those two things, I think free agency is going to be more important what the Bears can do. As we talked about the last couple of weeks on the show since the season's been over, most of those free agents for the Bears, I think a couple of them have a realistic chance of coming back, but I think most of them will not be back.
Yeah, and I think that's really going to be the key here. They want to have a shot. Now, again, there's no guarantee. Look, they're going to have a first place schedule next year. There's no guarantee that they'll be able to do what they did. I think Bears fans need to realize that. So it'll be interesting to see if they can do that. Much like, as far as the rest of the league, I guess you can probably say, just to put a capper on the football, this side for the football discussion, but you think about the Patriots. Like, look, I'm sure years ago when the Dolphins went to Super Bowl 19, that was Dan Marino's rookie year. A lot of people thought that was going to be, they would come back. They would come back that next season against the Bears. They never went back. So there's no guarantee with any of this stuff in the NFL. There's too many teams. Look, we saw what happened this year. The Patriots and Seahawks. Nobody had that. We saw both of them on the rise, but nobody had those teams going to the Super Bowl. So a lot of weird stuff can happen. So for me, there are no guarantees. So yeah, it all depends on what happened in the offseason, but I just don't think it's gonna be automatic that they're gonna be up there. I'm talking about the Bears to be a contention for the NFC North. I just don't see it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and let's be honest here for the Bears too, and not wishing anything bad on this person, but let's be real. Caleb Williams has been he's been nicked up a couple of times, but he's played in every game since he was drafted out of USC a couple of years ago. So let's hope you can keep that going for next year as well. And their depth was tested this year, LaKeena, and somehow they survived it. It's going to be tested even more next year. Now you get Roma Duze back with that foot problem. DJ Morris, we talked about on our last show last week regarding that situation with the LA against the LA Rams, why he wasn't quote unquote running hard on that last play. Got so injured his groin, but did return later on in the season. Outside of those three, they're really been suffering major injuries that really derailed their season. They still won the North. Suffered that ankle injury against the Packers in the playoff game. He should be healthy next year. The only real injury that you're concerned about next year, as I said, with the Bears need to left tackle is Isaac Trapello. He got injured in that playoff loss against the Rams, so he's going to be out for the majority of it, and not all the next year, which stinks. But outside of that, the Bears should be healthy going into training camp in 2026 in July.
All right, the new league year starts next month on March 11th, so we'll see what the Bears and the rest of the teams that we'll be talking about right here on Second Seed Sports. As you're listening to Second Seed Sports on Sports Social, got LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown with you as we're going to switch gears here to the hardwood and talk a little Bulls and the NBA. Well, the Kobe Wright trade, they had to amend it because apparently he failed his physical and he re-injured that calf that had been giving him troubles most of the year. And now instead of 3 second-round picks, the Bulls only get 2 from Charlotte. So you only have 8 now. Oh, what you gonna do with 8? And also, of course, the Bulls are in their tankathon, I guess if you want to call it that. They lose to Jokic, Murray, and the Nuggets on Saturday. And Jokic had another triple-double. He now passes Oscar Robertson for the most triple doubles in NBA history. He's only trails Russell Westbrook after that, but Murray had 28 points, lead the way there as well for the Nuggets. Montez had 21 points for the Bulls in a losing effort. So they were, the Bulls, give them credit, they were right there. All 5 stars were in double figures. Colin Sexton had 17 off the bench. Nick Richards had 15 off the bench, respectively, for the Bulls. But look, they lost. So the tankathon is on, I think.
Yeah, 0-2 since the trade deadline deal. So the Bulls, from that aspect, keep it rolling. But as we talked about all year long with this team, LaKeena, the Bulls, when they pass the ball very well and when they shoot the ball very well, they usually win the majority of the time. They shot the ball pretty decently at a 45% clip, 39% from 3. But like you said, outside the starters, they did get contributions from the bench. But team defense, especially in the paint, has been a problem all year. Last Saturday night was another ugly example of that. And speaking of folks coming off the bench, LaKeena, shout out to our guy, Big Dave Watson from CHGO. Hopefully he'll be on our next show on Friday. Patrick Lee Williams in 20 minutes, 8 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists. You can't make this shit up, people. But on the flip side, as you mentioned, Montez Buzelis, 21 points. Hopefully, with Kobe White and some of the other guys moving on, this will give him more freedom for the offense to be built around him and Josh Giddey, who's currently hurt. But Montez Buzelis, we're watching him becoming hopefully a potential star. His confidence has been growing since the beginning of the season. I like the way he's playing right now. As you mentioned, he had 21 points. Anthony Simons, he's in a tryout not just for Bulls, but for the rest of the NBA. You mentioned he had 15 points, including 3-10 shooting from beyond the arc. He had a total of 6 dimes as well, so he played well. But LaKeena, as we said before, we're going to keep saying him until the end of the season, whenever that is. This is going to be an open audition for many of these guys outside of Montez Buzelis and Josh Giddey. The rest of the roster is an audition to join the Bulls next year or join some other team, because the Bulls, I believe, will be under the cap, $36 million under the cap over the summer, and they will need players. So this is an audition that started last week after the trade deadline. It's going to continue between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if the Bulls can keep it down, up or down, however you want to call it. They do go to Long Island to play Brooklyn. They go to Brooklyn to play the Nets tonight on the road. So we'll see what happens. The Bulls did beat Brooklyn.
Win that game.
So it's a take-a-thon show with that game tonight. So who wants to take more? I think that's going to be the theme of that game. Now going into to yesterday's games, the Clippers, no trouble with Minnesota. Kawhi had 41. This is his fourth 40-point game this year. It was basically all Kawhi in this game, and had 23 points of losing effort for the T-Wolves, but they just couldn't stop Kawhi. I mean, 41 points. He was 14 for 30 and 5 for 11 from 3-point range. So the defense just wasn't there for Minnesota yesterday in that game against the Clippers. Toronto beat Indy. Scotty Barnes had 25. Bam had 22 as the Heat, who had no trouble with the Wizards. And it looks like the Knicks, after a little bit of the iffy, a couple of weeks back, they've now since have won 5 in a row. They beat Boston yesterday, 111-89. 19 points for Josh Hart and 31 for Jalen Brunson. And it's really been the defenses that's kind of have gotten the Knicks improved these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, after getting smacked down by Detroit last Friday on the road, they come back with a big win against their division rival, the rematch of last year's second-round series, 111-89, as you mentioned. We talked about it early in the year, LaKeena. The Knicks need to get back into not putting the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands, but making an offense so Jalen Brunson could be free to be himself, not having him handle the ball, be ball dominant all the time. The Knicks need to get back to that. Karl-Anthony Towns is going to have to step up. Mikal Bridges is playing his role. OJ Nobi is really having a nice stretch over the last couple of weeks. So the Knicks, nice bounce back win on the road yesterday after losing big time to Detroit last Friday on the road. So the Knicks trying to get back up there to expectations, trying to catch Detroit for that top spot in the East. It's going to be tough, but you like the way they're playing and trying to finish up the first half of the year going into next weekend's All-Star break.
Could be, yeah, they've won, like I forgot about that Pistons loss early, because they had won like 9 in a row prior to that loss to Detroit, and now the nice bounce back win for Boston against Boston yesterday. Now going to Saturday's games, it was pretty busy. The Cavs, they're starting to kind of get it going. They beat Sacramento, Portland, no trouble with Memphis. Philadelphia, Joel Embiid had 33 points, his best showing so far this season as they beat the Suns. That was actually a pretty entertaining game, by the way. And I watched a little bit of this game. I had this game on my multi-view. LeBron James with another good showing here against Golden State. He had 20 points. Luka didn't play this game, but look, 10 points for Luke Kennard in his first game since joining the Lakers. And also he's at 16 off the bench. So the defense is actually okay for the most part for the Lakers. So a nice showing against Golden State on Saturday night.
Unfortunately, Steph Curry didn't play, so I did not watch that game at all. I saw the highlights here on YouTube. As you mentioned, LaKeena, Doncic is out with that left hamstring. Also, Reeves, who just came back, they're trying to get him his minutes, his stamina being built up. The Lakers desperately need him, and some of the other role guys decided to help out LeBron James as well. So the Lakers, as we said before, they didn't do it at the deadline. Can somebody like outside of DeAndre Ayton step up as far as playing defense inside? Jackson Hayes, I know he's going to be in the slam dunk contest next Saturday night. You need to step up, brother. I'm just saying. So if the Lakers can play some defense, as you mentioned, overall, especially inside, stop giving up so many offensive rebounds, stop giving up so many 3-point shots, I think they'll be okay. Is this a championship roster? No. Yeah, can they win a playoff series? So two, possibly.
Maybe for me when it comes to the Lakers. You never know what Lakers team you're gonna get, so that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with that. Now the Hornets beat Atlanta behind Miles Bridges 26. Paulo Vaquero 23 as Orlando. Pretty entertaining game they held off Utah. The Jazz beat. So if you did the over in this one, I'm sure you had a nice start to your Saturday. The Spurs beat Dallas 138-125. Stephen Castle got his first triple double with 40 points, 12 rebounds and 12 assists. And this is interesting because he shot 15 for 19 from the field, 3 for 5, and that's about, I think that's about 80%. The last guy to do that triple double while she's 75+% from the field, Wilt Chamberlain. So that's a pretty record-breaking performance for Castle, and a nice win for the Spurs as they keep chugging along, beating Dallas.
Yeah, we talked about the Spurs at the start of the year. I thought they were going to be a candidate for a play-in team, but they got out to a nice start. Had a little rough patchy a little bit, especially with the injury to Victor Wembanyama early in the year. But ever since Wembanyama returned back in early December, that team has been on a roll. And I know we're going to talk about probably on our next show on Friday. Mitch Johnson, in my opinion, he's the leader in the clubhouse for NBA Coach of the Year. You knew the Spurs were going to be competitive, but no one had them at the top of the Western Conference. We talked about Denver, we talked about Houston, we talked about the Lakers, and we talked about some of the other teams that could have make the top. Well, we talk about OKC. I know that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will be out for the next few weeks, but no one had the Spurs out there. I didn't. I know you didn't either. So, like I said, Mitch Johnson, he should be in your leader of clubhouse for NBA Coach of the Year. He has that team playing.
Now, speaking of Houston, Houston came back to beat OKC, and this is actually the fourth time that OKC that had an early lead in the fourth quarter, and Houston came back and won. Atari Eason had 26 points for Houston, leading the way there as they beat OKC. Brooklyn pulled away from the Wizards. Michael Porter Jr. had 23. Real quick, Friday's games, Kawhi had 31 as the Clippers beat Sacramento. Portland beat Memphis. New Orleans upset Minnesota. Steve Bay had 30 points there. Minnesota's struggling a little bit, but hopefully they'll figure it out as they try to get guys acclimated, because Mike Conley is back over there now, so hopefully they can get it going there. Milwaukee beat Indy. Kevin Porter had 23. Detroit with a nice win. We talked about it. Just hammering the Knicks 118-80. Dennis Jenkins had 18. And yeah, a very impressive game for the Pistons there. And the Celtics edged out the Heat. Jaylen Brown had 29 in that game to wrap up the Friday slate.
Yep. And the Celtics beat the Heat 98-96. Boston split their games this weekend. Now going to the starting without tonight's game. Detroit will go to Charlotte to take on the Hornets. The Bulls, as we mentioned earlier, they'll take on the Brooklyn Nets at Orlando. Atlanta will visit Minnesota. Sacramento will visit New Orleans. Cleveland will visit Denver. In the second game of that
All right. Tuesday, tomorrow, the Knicks and the Pacers. This was like back in the day, this was actually a really good rivalry. So we'll see what happens in this one. The first game of the special NBA TV Tuesday doubleheader. You got the Clippers and Houston. That should be a good one at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Dallas and Phoenix at 8. And the second game of the NBA TV doubleheader, you got San Antonio and the Lakers.
Your schedule for Wednesday are as follows. Atlanta will travel to Charlotte. The Washington Wizards, without Anthony Davis for the rest of the year, by the way, they'll take on Cleveland. The Bucks and the Magic will do battle. Yes, once again, we're not repeating, folks. The Chicago Bulls will take on the Boston Celtics. The Pacers will visit Brooklyn and take on the Nets. The first game of the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader, the New York Knicks visiting the Philadelphia 76ers. Detroit will take on Detroit will take on Toronto in Canada. Clippers will continue the East Coast road trip there in Houston. Portland will visit Minnesota. Miami at New Orleans. OKC at Phoenix. Sacramento at Utah. Denver will host Memphis in the nightcap of the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs will take on, hopefully, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That's your schedule for Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, we can still see me for the All-Star break. Now, Thursday to wrap up the first half of the NBA season. The first game of the Prime Video doubleheader, you got Milwaukee and OKC, probably without Giannis. Portland and Utah. And the second game of the Prime Video doubleheader, you got Dallas and the Lakers. So that is your schedule for not only this week in the NBA, but also for the first half of the NBA season.
All right, stay tuned for more sports and more fun. That's the Second City Sports Monday extravaganza continues with Peter Fonseca, a.k.a. Baloney from the Chicago Sports Bums, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun and much more. You're listening to Sports.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott.
He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
And welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. I'm LaKeena McGee. You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, executors go to McGee on Instagram. Yep.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Living Color right here on Sports Zone. Here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, executors go to IG.
To open up hour number 2, we're going to discuss Winter Olympics, baseball, and college basketball for this half hour. So if you have any questions or comments regarding those subjects, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena, we get the up on the screen for you.
All right, a really quick Winter Olympic update. The U.S. has now, took out two gold medals going into the first weekend of the Olympics. Breezy Johnson, she won the women's downhill. It's actually her first championship. She's won bronze and silver multiple times, but now she's on the top of the podium for the first time with a great downhill run. Unfortunately, Lindsey Vonn crashed during the prelims, and unfortunately blew out her other leg. So now she is stabilized. I know she's at a hospital, I think in Milan. So hopefully, wish her nothing but the best. But a great performance by Breezy Johnson. Now, as far as the other gold medal in the U.S. Team event in figure skating, Ilya Malin and also Madison Chalk and Evan Bates led the way for the U.S. as they helped secure the second straight gold medal for the Americans in the team event. Sid, did you watch any of the stuff so far? What's been your favorite event of these Olympics so far in the first couple of days?
The only thing I got to check out as far as the Olympics is the USA women's hockey team. I know they're playing coming up in the next hour or so, but they're 2-0 right now in their competition. I know the men will start theirs on Thursday, and then of course next Saturday and Sunday for the USA men's. But shout out to the women's team. So far 2-0. They should have no trouble going 3-0 later today on their route to another gold medal, hopefully.
Yeah,
Hillary Knight is that chick. No pun intended when I say that, but all due respect.
She is just I think she's now one of the highest scoring American female I think in history since with those goals. I believe they played Switzerland. I believe in about 30 minutes. So hopefully they should have no trouble with that. I said the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, let me check.
I know the American men start Wednesday. They're already starting their prelims, so that's we'll see what happens.
Yes, U.S. versus Switzerland.
Yeah, and I know that the men start as well, I think on Wednesday. So we'll see. And then curling too. I think there's a team in a mixed team in curling that I forgot. I gotta look up their names real quick. But they're already they're in the gold medal round. So this is actually the first time that they've ever advanced this far, the mixed team competition. Shout out to Corey Thies and Corey Tropkin, the Corys as they call them. The U.S. has never medaled in mixed doubles curling. They'll have their chance tomorrow, I believe, in their gold medal match. So they're going to win a medal regardless, but hopefully it's gold. And look, Snoop Dogg was over there training with them. So now they can say that Snoop Dogg gave us some good luck. So we'll see if they can take it home. We'll see if they can take it home.
All right. Yes, the Olympics will enter its first full week. You can watch it, of course, here in America on NBC and stream it on Peacock. And you can watch it on your other international channels for those of you watching else internationally. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you. Let's dive into a couple of big games that took place over the weekend in college basketball. We'll start out locally. The Fighting Illini, they dropped from 5 to 8 in the AP Paul after losing a tough one in overtime to Michigan State, 85-82. Merkovic for the Illini led the way with 18 points, including 7 to 8 from the free throw line. Keaton Wagler, who hit the game-tying three-point shot, descended to overtime. He struggled throughout the game. On the flip side, Jeremy Fears for Michigan State, he is that dude. 26 points, 15 dimes, and of course, Jake Kohler had 10 defensive rebounds, 10 rebounds overall, 6 offensively. LaKeena, the Illini did not shoot the ball very well. 28% from three-point range, 37% overall. As you said on the show last week, you keep reminding us all year long, they take too many threes for our liking. Andrei Stojakovic, Paige's son, he actually had a good game, but LaKeena, as much as the Illini do a great job getting offensive rebounds, they do a poor job giving up offensive rebounds. That's just something that's been bothering me. We've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 years. The Illini's defense, especially when they close out, when their big guys close out the shooters on the perimeter, it was sorely exposed last Saturday. Tom Izzo knew that. And the guards for Michigan State were beating the Illini just left and right. But give the Illini credit. They're led by 9. They just couldn't hold on. They damn near tied the game to sending it to double overtime. But, Michigan State made a couple of big plays they had to make down the stretch. So the Illini, they're still a good team, but you got to tighten it up just a little bit more defensively, especially limit your opponents for extra possessions. The offensive rebounding on the defensive end is a killer right now.
Yeah, well, Jackson Kohler is one of the top rebounders in the Big Ten, so I'm not surprised that he was lights out. 16 rebounds. I think he had like 30. Like you said, I think he had 10 of those defensive rebounds. So that's really what kept Michigan State in it. Jeremy Fears Jr. 26 points. I mean, he's probably one of the. He's done some things that you might not like, but when he's good, he's really good. And look, like I said, if he can get it going and be consistent and use the hate, to use it as fuel for him, Michigan State's going to be a tough outcome March. And I think that's really going to be the key for Michigan State. They want to go far in the tournament. Now, Keaton Wagler, not his best game, 2 for 16 from the field, 2 for 8 from three-point range. You can't, 16 points was nothing to sneeze at, but that's an off game for him. You can't really afford to do that if you're trying to get that number 1 seed. One of the number 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. So, But again, it ended up being a great game too, and hopefully Illinois could use that loss as kind of sort of a thing where they can get out to regroup. And we'll see if Colin Boswell, I know he's supposed to be back, at some point within the next week or so. So we'll see if maybe he can help out in that offensive side. But that was a great win, and Michigan State needed that win more than Illinois did. Now, speaking of teams that needed that win more. North Carolina, they came back. They actually led for like 0.4 seconds. Well, that was all they needed as they came back to beat Duke 71-68. Caleb Wilson had 23 points. Seth Trimble had 16 points, including that game-winning three-pointer as time expired. On the flip side, 24 points for Cam Boozer, 13 points for Dame Sarr. Not a lot of offense for Duke as they struggled in the second half, only scoring 27 points. You probably could say that they tightened up with the call a little bit. There was a big foul discrepancy. I think it was like I think Duke got fouled like 13, 14 times, while North Carolina got fouled got called for like 3 or 4 times. But John Shire apparently storming the court at the Smith Center. Really, you're North Carolina, folks. Like really, I just think it's corny, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, North Carolina needed that win. They hadn't been Duke in over a year. So, but yeah, the next round is, in case you guys are wondering, is in March 7th to finish the regular season at Cameron Indoor. I'm sure the Cameron Crazies will not be in a good mood, however that happens to that point. But yeah, so what do you think about that game on Saturday, Sid?
Yeah, up until the last few minutes of the game, in that in that last stretch in the last few minutes of the first half, Duke they were in control of that game. You mentioned about Cam Boozer; he was the main Blue Devils. And for those of you that haven't watched them yet, you're going to see why now, since football's over there, he's going to be one of the top 3 picks in this spring's NBA draft. He dominated inside. The Duke's guards, I thought they were excellent. They were the more aggressive team. That's why they got the calls. Hubert Davis, the head coach of North Carolina, made the adjustments at halftime. Caleb Wilson struggled. Part of it was because of foul trouble, but other guys you mentioned about, including Seth Trimble, who nailed the game winner, stepped up in that second half, and they turned it up defensively, and they got to the foul line. I'm talking about the Tar Heels. They took a page out of Duke's playbook in the first half. They were aggressive, and they started to get aggressive defensively as well, especially in the perimeter. So, yes, the Carolina benefit for a couple of calls, of course, but when you become more aggressive, be more forthright in terms of setting the tone, you're going to get some of those calls. But that was a great win from North Carolina. They needed that game more to Duke, in my opinion, just from a confidence standpoint, and giving them that belief is like, hey, we could be one of those top teams of the country. Duke has run away with it in the ACC, but North Carolina just say, hey, we want some respect on our name as well.
All right, Arizona beat Oklahoma State. Gonzaga with a nice bounce back win against Oregon State. Iowa State, they've been rolling. They held off Baylor. Houston beats BYU. Casey Flemings, the other top freshman, he had 19 points in that win there for Houston. Nebraska, they've come along after losing a couple of games. They beat Rutgers. Kansas with a nice win over Utah. Purdue over Oregon. Oklahoma with a nice upset win over Vanderbilt. That could probably help them. Porter Moses guys, that could help them perhaps maybe in the for the bubble part of the tournament coming up in about 7 weeks from now. Florida, they're starting to get it going. They beat Texas A&M. Thomas Hogue had 22. Virginia beat Syracuse. It looks like Kylan Anthony might have played his last game with Syracuse. He did not play during the second half. Adrian Autry might be gone anyway by the end of the season, so there might be a lot of stuff going on out there at Syracuse. St. Louis, they're rolling along as well, beating LaSalle. Clemson beat Cal. Arkansas beats Mississippi State. Louisville beats Wake. Ortega away had 21 as Kentucky held off with a nice comeback win over Tennessee. Villanova beat Georgetown. Mizzou beat South Carolina. DePaul loses to Providence. Miami beat Boston College. Let's see any other local games. I'm not trying to make fun, but Seton Hall. Creighton beats Seton Hall. That's Utah State beats Wyoming. Let's see. St. Mary's, no trouble with San Francisco. UCLA held off Washington. So a pretty good showing there for the most part, with a couple of great games. Now, Michigan, shout out to Base Produce who had to call this game for CBS with Bill Raftery and the former Auburn coach Bruce Pearl. Michigan with a nice performance against Ohio State. Dave Mara had 24 points. He was a monster from the field, so that helped Michigan beat Ohio State. Yep.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Houston BYU game for just a moment. I had a chance to watch some of that following the Illini loss to Michigan State. As we talked about with BYU the last couple of weeks, LaKeena now, I believe, 17-6 on the year. They start slowing games, but they can shoot their way back in with a 3-point shot. And their problem is they start slowing games. That had another comeback attempt against Houston at home. But this was my first time watching the Houston Cougars team. They are very good. You mentioned but Kingston Fleming said he makes that offense go for the Houston Cougars.
Yeah, like I said, he's one of those top freshmen in the country, and he's just shooting lights out for Houston. They're 21-2. Like we said, BYU, they could depend on the three a little too much. They were 8 for 22 from 3-point range. They got to get it going here, or else they're going to be having a short stay at the NCAA tournament. So they better see if they can get it together on the 3-point side. Now, Texas Tech with a nice bounce back win against West Virginia. Looks like Memphis, your buddy Penny Hardaway, he's starting to get it going as they beat Charlotte. So hopefully they can get a little bit of a roll here. Minnesota with a letdown after beating Michigan State earlier this week. They lose to Maryland. Iowa beats Northwestern. And USC edges out Penn State. That ended up being a very thrilling game, too. So your games for this week, we'll do the important ones real quick. Xavier and St. John's, that's going to be on FS1 at 5:30. Louisville hosts
Progressive
NC
State
State.
doesn't beat UConn on Friday.
Yes, they did. A nice upset win for Rich Pitino and his guys. Looks like they're starting to get it going there too. Hopefully they can keep it going as they play his son, Richard Pitino Xavier Musketeers once again. That's going to be an emotional game there. Louisville, they host NC State, the first game of Big Monday on ESPN. Oregon and Indiana on FS1. And the capper here for this one, you got Arizona and Kansas. Incidentally, Kansas has not lost on a Big Monday game since they started the whole Big Monday all the way back in the early 90s. So at home. So this should be a good one against Arizona out there. So should be a good one in Lawrence coming up at 8:00 on ESPN tonight.
All right, a couple of games of note for tomorrow, Tuesday. Number 8, Illinois, they'll host Wisconsin. That's at 7:00 on Peacock. Number 3 to face the LSU Tigers. That's at 8 p.m. on the SEC Network.
And Duke versus Pittsburgh. That's going to be on ESPN. Let's see. North Carolina beats Miami. I would say they should be on upset alert because Miami's been playing pretty well. Jai Lewis is out there in his first year, so they may give North Carolina a run for their money. So Hubert Davis, Caleb Wilson, and the Tar Heels should keep on the lookout there. BYU will see if they can bounce back against Baylor, and Vanderbilt will see if they can bounce back against Auburn. Now, Wednesdays, I think there might be a couple of games to note here. Michigan Northwestern on BTN at 7:30. Mizzou and Texas A&M at 8:00 on the SEC Network. New Mexico against Grand Canyon on FS1. And UConn and Butler, that's going to be at 6:30 on TNT and streaming on True TV. And Florida and Georgia will be on ESPN2 at 6:00 on Wednesday. And USC, they continue their East Coast trip as they face Ohio State at 5:30 on BTN on Wednesday. All right, for third.
All right, Second City Sports Fun with me. We'll have our special reporting to spring training at their respective facilities to help us get into the baseball spirit and talk about the whole Chicago sports scene in general. We're going to bring him. LaKeena, let's welcome him in. Mr. Peter Fonseca, a.k.a. Baloney.
Hello.
Welcome him on to the show.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time coming. I know Sid has asked. I was unable to make it. I was working last time, but I'm excited to chop it up with you guys. Excited to talk sports. I got to give you credit to start, LaKeena. We do a couple live shows a week on the Chicago Sports Films YouTube, and you're handling Sid's technical difficulties like a pro. Typically, whenever we call it the Telemundo internet. Whenever Johnny or Jason or somebody gets the Telemundo internet, we kind of panic. We don't know what to do. You just rolling with the punches. So I got to give you credit, LaKeena. This is a good hosting job.
Well, Pete, I'm used to it. So yeah, you just gotta be patient with the lag. So so I totally get where you're coming from. Now, of course, with pitchers and catchers, starting to come in and seeing the White Sox, what are your expectations for them with all the great moves that they made? Of course, the latest one, of course, bringing back Eric Fetty. They've made some other great moves as well. So what are your thoughts on how the White Sox should be able to do this season?
Yeah, I think like most White Sox fans, I'm just excited to see what battles come out of spring training, whether it be on the pitching staff or the outfield, the roster in general, who's going to be, the last couple guys on the team, who's going to make, a splash in spring training. But yeah, I think the Eric Fetty thing is really interesting. I feel like at this point now, Chris Getz is like, we kind of know what he's going for. And he has a history with like picking up these pitchers that might not be great other places, but they somehow turn it around with the White Sox. And we saw it with Eric Fetty last time. So he didn't have a really great career after the White Sox trade, but now they're bringing him back, and it'll be interesting. He's either going to be great like he was with the White Sox, and when I say great, I mean decently good. And they're going to probably trade him again during the All-Star break, or you have him as a fifth starter. He's not great, and then you cut him in June sometimes. So it's a low risk, high-ish reward deal for Eric Fetty, but I'm excited to see what he does, and I'm excited to see what all these guys kind of do now that pitchers and catchers are reporting, and we're gonna have some spring training games soon.
Yeah, speaking of another newcomer, rookie slugger Mooney Murakami, 255 home runs in Japan, signed a 2-year deal for $34 million, 17 per year. Some people call him this era's Adam Dunn, your classic power hitter. He strikes out a lot this year. I know spring training yesterday. Expectations for Murakami this year.
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting thing to come out of the White Sox in a long time. Even when there was rumors of the White Sox being in on Munetaka Murakami, I didn't really believe them. Because, typically when like a lot of the big name Japan people come to the MLB, it's the big names, right? It's the Dodgers, it's the Mets, it's the Yankees, it's all of the bigger names that are really, interested in signing these players. And then they kept teasing like, oh, the White Sox are still in it. The White Sox are still in it. So when they announced that Munetaka Murakami signed with the White Sox, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like this typically doesn't happen to the White Sox. So I am excited about that. I think the power coming from Japan to the MLB kind of does translate. It won't translate like, 100%. It's not going to, I don't expect a 56 home run season from him, but a lot of people are saying Adam Dunn. I'm hoping it's more Jim Thome. I've seen both of those comparisons pretty aptly. And while Adam Dunn had some serviceable years with the White Sox, I'm hoping it's more of the Jim Thome type of power. But yeah, we are going to see some strikeouts from him. I think there will be a time for him to adjust, but we've seen his power. We've seen his clutch hitting in the WBC. I'm excited to see him in the South Side.
Well, not a good start, though. They actually misspelled his name on his locker at spring training.
Classic White Sox.
Totally not surprised there. So besides him, out of all the signings, Pete, what's been like your biggest, like, okay, this guy could actually be really good. Of course, you got your Anthony Cage, you got that signing into Sir Anthony Dominguez. Their bullpen should really be improved. So what signing kind of, besides that, what kind of got you like, okay, feeling encouraged?
Yeah, I think it's what you mentioned, LaKeena. It's the revamped bullpen. They've signed a couple guys highlighted by Sir Anthony Dominguez. I know a lot of the times, and I've talked about it on my show, I was very critical, not of the White Sox, but of White Sox fans, because like you can't have it both ways. You can't get mad when they don't sign anybody. And then they signed Sir Anthony Dominguez, and people are mad that a lot of their argument is like, well, this White Sox team is so far off that they really don't need a high leverage closer. And I would argue like their bullpen was so bad, especially in the beginning of last year, to where like they lost a lot of those 1-run games because they just had nobody to throw out there. So now you have a Sir Anthony Dominguez where even if it's just a handful of those 1-run games turn in the White Sox direction, that could change the beginning of the season to where like, a lot of the times we're out of it by June. Even if you're just like middling and I'm not going to say 500, but a couple games below 500, that bullpen could really help bolster that the team. And especially like we mentioned, like it was just so frustrating for them to like blow leads late, 6th, 7th, 8th inning. Like you knew something bad was going to happen. The wheels were going to fall off. So where hopefully now this year they're battling more. And I think Sir Anthony Dominguez helps in that.
Yeah, one last question for you about the White Sox before we break for the bottom of the hour. Will Venable, the second-year manager, has talked about this. Chris Guest, the GM, has talked about this. There's going to be competition, not just in the outfield, but all around, up and down the roster as we headed towards spring trading. I think it's a good thing because we know that the White Sox are notoriously bad for handing certain prospects jobs, and then they fail right on the spot. What do you think about competitions for all 9 positions going around this year?
Great. That's exactly what you want to see from a young team. Like nobody's really earned it. Now, Colton Montgomery has earned a little bit of leeway on shortstop. Munetaka Murakami is now your first baseman. I think he'll be there a lot of the time. But everyone else, like they haven't really earned anything. And I'm including the 2 catchers that we're both really high on. Like I think Edgar Caro is a little bit behind Kyle Teal in terms of like starting every day. But the main thing I'm worried about, and it's something that the White Sox didn't do, is like I'd rather see Edgar Caro get the DH spot, and they're just been really hesitant to do that. I think the less you see of Andrew Benintendi, whether it's on the outfield or even a DH spot, is better for the White Sox. I'd rather see the DH spot go to one of these young guys on their off day, or rest their legs, or like whether it's Caro or Teal or vice versa. And they've just been hesitant to play them both at the same time. So I'm excited about the competition. I really am like, I know this team is a little bit far off, but the future is way brighter than it felt, at this time last year.
Well, hold that thought, Pete. We're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we'll have more with our new friend, Peter Fonseca from the Chicago Sports Buzz. We'll talk more White Sox. We'll talk about the Bears as well, what his thoughts are going into next season, and so much more. LaKeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. More with Pete Fonseca coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you live this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. This is Monday Extravaganza edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena here with you.
Yeah,
Our guy
never-
Peter Fonseca from
he's never
aka
been
Baloney
doing
from the
that.
Chicago Sports Buns is
He's
hanging
never
out here
been
with us for the
so
rest
far.
of the show. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80.
Yvonne LaKeena McGee on the Twitter. Executors going to get an IG.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Baloney's hanging out with us for the rest of the show. So if you have any questions or comments for us, hop into those comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Now, continuing our White Sox talk here, Pete, and there have been, of course, the rising stars are there for the White Sox. You got Colson Montgomery, Edgar Carroll, Shane Smith. I mean, what do you expect? Do you expect them to be better than they were last year? Because I think there's going to be a lot of expectations from, I'm sure from you guys, I'm sure all other White Sox fans for them to be even better than they were last year.
Yeah, I do think they will take another step up. I think the biggest question is how big of a step can they take, right? So like they're coming off not last year, but the year before, like a historic loss season where they lost 121 games. They were 19 games better last season than the year before. Taking another 19 game step up is tough. Like you just don't see teams make those jumps twice in a row. And they're just, as much as they got the youth movement going forward, there's still a lack of talent on this team. So I see, like, I know like Vegas has the number at like 56 wins and a half. I think they're going to be substantially better than 56 wins. And this is crazy because, Vegas typically gets the number right on the head or even a few wins higher or lower. But I think best case scenario, and this is going to sound tough as a White Sox fan, but if they somehow don't lose 100 games, I consider that a successful season. Like they're on the heels of back-to-back 100-loss seasons. Like just getting down to like the 90 loss or like 95 loss threshold would be good. And that sounds kind of like a bad thing to say. Like I don't know if you want to call it like loser thinking, but I just don't see them taking like a huge step up to where like they're 500. Or anything like that, which would be awesome. Like at this point, I would take 500 baseball in a heartbeat. It's been so long since we've seen a 500 baseball team.
Yeah, the last time the White Sox finished 500 was back in 2022 when they blew that division lead. Of course, they won the division the year before in 21. Besides attending you guys' tailgates once at Sox games, of course, the other reason why most people attend Sox games is because of their promotions. I know you guys talked about it on your show last week. The bobbleheads, except for a couple I'm pretty impressed with this year. You got the Edgar Carroll, Kyle Teal combination of the bobblehead that I think will be given out at the end of May against Detroit. You had the Colson Montgomery bobblehead on that Saturday against the Dodgers. And I know Miguel Vargas has his own why I don't know, but that's a whole nother issue. But what are the promotional items that you're looking forward to this year for the White Sox?
Yeah, so the promos from the White Sox, as much as us, even as fans, will rag on ownership and maybe the GM and the players and coaches and stuff like that, something we can't really complain about is the marketing and promotional department, because they hit it out of the park year in and year out. And they have to, right? They have to find different ways to attract fans, because like they're not going to come for just the baseball on the field. Like us diehards will be there, but the general public needs a little bit more of an incentive to come to those games. I think for the most part, I think they always nail the Heritage Night stuff. So like Puerto Rican Heritage Night, Mexican Heritage Night, Hispanic Heritage Night, all of those are like always home runs. The bobbleheads, the one that really stands out is the Bobby Jenks bobblehead, the Bobby Jenks AJ bobblehead. I think that's going to be one that like everybody wants.
Oh, yeah.
And then even just like a couple of like the pullover starter jacket. I know they can't call it a starter jacket, but it looks like a 90s Bulls starter jacket with the Friday black and red uniform, the City Connect uniform. Those are so different that when anyone else is doing. So I got to give them credit. They're great.
Now let's talk about the rest of that AL Central, Pete, because I think it's safe to say, look, like you said, I think as long as the White Sox don't lose 100 games this year, I think that's a real big accomplishment. Detroit, you gotta think they're the favorites. I know they've had a little, I don't want to say squabble, but the Therese Skubal thing, I know they had to pay a lot to arbitration. They get Framber Valdez, so that should help a little bit that pitching front. Minnesota, we don't know what the hell's going on over there. Cleveland, maybe they may be up there this year. KC, maybe. So what is your I don't want to say prediction, but your synopsis for the AL Central this year?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest and be frank, it's not just because I'm a White Sox fan, but the AL Central in general is very unimpressive. I think the Tigers are the team to beat, and they do have some pitching that is formidable. But other than that, like, I feel like no one's really, grabbing the reins and trying to take the division. And so, like, I'm not going to say the White Sox are, contenders in the AL Central, but they could beat these teams. And that's another thing I'm looking forward to this year specifically is like the White Sox have been fairly bad in their division play the last couple seasons. It's like, that's where you got to really make your hayway, right? Like you have to beat the people in your division, and they really haven't. So other than the Tigers, which I do think are the class of the division, and I do think the Guardians can take another step up. They've kind of been like wishy. I don't want to say like wishy-washy is the right word, but like it feels like the Guardians had a chance there at least a couple years ago to really take over this division and have like a really good core for the next 4 or 5 years. And they just really haven't really found that. And they're a decent team, but no, I think the AL Central is anyone's game. I don't think it's the White Sox, but I also don't think it's the Twins or the Royals either.
Yeah, besides Framber, there's another big moves outside of the White Sox that have been made between those top 3 teams in the AL Central, so we'll see what happens. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKeena hanging out here with you. We're joined by Peter Fonseca, a.k.a. Baloney from the Chicago Sports Bums. He's hanging out here with us for the rest of the show, talking Chicago sports and more. Let's switch over to football. Peter, the Seattle Seahawks are your Super Bowl champions. They defeated the Patriots last night by 16 points. We know the Bears are going to play them, I believe, in Seattle next year. First, two-part question here. First, what are your thoughts about the Bears' 2025 season? And number 2, how close or how far are the Bears away from being in that Super Bowl contender with the Seattle Seahawks?
Yeah, beginning part of your question, I thought the 2025 season was about best case scenario as you could have guessed, or like I would have guessed. I know I had them like 9-7 to end the year as my prediction. So the fact that like I thought maybe just sneaking into that last wild card spot would have been awesome. And especially after the beginning of the season where they start off 0-2, like, oh, you never know. But then they rattled off some wins. Ben Johnson got this O-line cooking, and Caleb developed, and we saw Colson Loveland to where like they were pulling off some of these games as much as like they could have beat the Rams, and that miracle comeback was awesome. But this season as a whole, just all the different ways they won a game, it felt like a magical season. So now my question is like, they have to carry that over to where like maybe they don't become the cardiac Bears next year. They figure out ways to win games, in the first 3 quarters instead of squeaking them out in the 4th quarter. So that's where I'm hoping for. And then to answer your question, how close are they to the Seahawks? I really do think, especially this year's NFL playoffs, it was anyone's game. No one in the AFC really stood out. Obviously, you could argue the refs, beat Buffalo, but Buffalo was up and down. I think the Denver team, if Bo Nix doesn't get hurt, I think they have a really good chance of beating the Patriots. The Patriots, a lot of people are calling them frauds, and it's hard to call a team frauds when they win 14 games in a season, but they really were unimpressive in the playoffs. I think the best team in the NFL this season ended up winning the Super Bowl. That defense is so good in Seattle to where I think the Bears could have competed with the Rams, the Patriots, the Broncos. I don't know how they would have competed with Seattle in the playoffs. So that's the one thing I was worried about. I think they're a step below them. This offseason is going to be make or break, not necessarily for Ben Johnson, but more for Ryan Poles. I think this defense needs to get revamped, and Seattle has shown that you could revamp a defense pretty quickly. So the blueprint is there. I think the Bears aren't that far off, but what's crazy is I checked the lines immediately after the Super Bowl was over. I just wanted to see where the Bears stood in terms of Vegas odds. And they were like right in the middle, like 15th, 16th. I think they're plus 2,700 to win the Super Bowl. So that means there's 15 teams above the Bears that Vegas thinks could win the Super Bowl before the Bears. I thought that was a little disrespectful. I thought for sure they would be in that like top 10. I'm not necessarily top 6, but at least top 10. But Vegas thinks differently. But I think they're right there. I think it's anyone's game next year.
Now, who do you think, because with the cap being the way it is, now I'm sure there's going to be somebody cutting off the books when the new league starts next month. Who do you think gets off the books? Who do you think they need to add? The Max Crosby thing, the rumors are starting to go around. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the Max Crosby. I've seen the Hendrickson from the Bengals. I feel like Bears fans want them to make a big splash in free agency or in a trade in terms of a defensive lineman or an edge rusher. And I've been saying it for a long time. I don't want the Bears to trade for the next, Max Crosby. I want them to draft the next Max Crosby. That's the way you win football. That's the way in this day and age you win in the NFL, is having impact guys on rookie deals so you could spread that money around and have a more well-balanced team. So as much as I would say, oh yeah, go get Max Crosby or go get Hendrickson or go get one of these big splash guys like the Packers did with Micah Parsons this year, it doesn't seem to work out the way I would want it to. I'd rather them focus on the draft and kind of revamp the defense that way. In terms of people coming off the books and stuff, I've been very vocal thinking that DJ Moore is going to be here next year. I know a lot of the fans are out on him, but I think he's a valuable part of this offense. And if they could rework some of his deal to where they turn that into signing bonus money, that gives them a little bit more leeway. So it'll be interesting. Like NFL season nowadays it's 24/7, 365. So it's like, I know we just finished and like the new season opens up technically in the books next month, but I'm excited to see what the Bears do. It's going to be a fun offseason, especially because we're not worried about the top 10 drafts. Like we typically right now we're scouring drafts and depth charts for college, thinking like, where are they going to go within the top 10? Obviously you it's nice not to worry about that. They're going to be picking later in I believe it's 25th pick and stuff like that. It's not it's a nice problem to have.
We brought up the Bears offense. We haven't mentioned Caleb Williams yet. As Jeff Joniak always says, Ice Smith cometh, Ice Smith taketh. We can all agree that Caleb Williams took a step up this past season in year number 2. Where do you see his ceiling besides getting to that 4,000 yard season passing yard mark? Where do you see Caleb Williams' ceiling, despite having that ugly ending to the playoff loss against the Rams?
Yeah, I think I'm excited. I think the main thing is I saw, the Bears this weekend promoted Press Taylor to offensive coordinator. And I saw someone on Reddit earlier talking about like, oh, there hasn't been much noise about who would be the offensive coordinator. I like that they're keeping it within. I didn't need Caleb Williams to have another new face and another new offensive coordinator, even though Ben Johnson is really calling the plays. You know, you don't want to disrupt the learning tree, if you will. So keeping it in-house, keeping it, you know, within the family, I think is a smart move for the Bears, to where you have that consistency with Caleb Williams. And I know the comparison is there and a lot of people have made it, but you really did see a big jump with Jared Goff between the first season with Ben Johnson to the second year with Ben Johnson. If Caleb Williams can make that similar jump that Jared Goff did, and there's no reason to think he shouldn't, because like Jared Goff, Caleb Williams was the #1 overall draft pick. You would think he has a talent there to be able to make that jump. If he makes the Jared Goff second year jump for the Bears, watch out, because then this Bears offense is cooking with gas. I know a lot has been said about completion percentage and accuracy, and I think he fixed a lot of that to end the year, not necessarily completion percentage, but more accuracy wise. And then the offense with the drops too. The drops kind of killed the 4,000 yard season, if you will. But no, I think the future is so bright with Caleb Williams. I know a lot was said about Jaden Daniels and Drake May and all that stuff, comparing the two. I think the Bears fans, you should feel good about where Caleb is compared to the other two. And I'm saying this as Drake May had close to an MVP season, but you still see those playoffs. I don't think anything about Drake May was all that impressive. And Jaden Daniels was hurt this year, so it's been up and down. But like a lot of noise was said about those three guys and where they got picked and who was better than the other. If I'm a Bears fan, I'm happy with the decision of Caleb Williams. He's the guy, and he should be the guy for the next decade.
What do you think about the DJ Moore noise? Do you think he gets traded, or do you think it's all just a bunch of smoke? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's the thing is a lot of fans were upset about DJ Moore and how that season ended. But if you go back and look at all those highlight plays, all of like the Caleb, you know, like top 10 throws of the year and best plays of the year, DJ Moore was all over that highlight reel as well. And until somebody like Luther Burden or Roma Dunze can show you that they can be a #1 receiver for a foreseeable future, not just a couple games here and a couple games there, I think DJ Moore has a place on this team. And especially with how big of a contract they have, it's going to be hard to move that contract, you know, seeing what happened at the end of the year. So that's where I keep saying, like, I think DJ Moore is going to be here. I think DJ Moore is going to be here for at least another year. So if you could restructure that deal, at least for 1 year, convert it to a signing bonus, have some of the NFL funny money to play with, if you will, I think that'll benefit both the offense and the defense. But no, I think DJ Moore is here. And I think the main thing is the progression of both Caleb, DJ, and Colson Loveland turned out to be a heck of a pick. So I'm excited for where this offense could be next year.
Yeah, if the Bears cut DJ Moore, they would take a massive salary cap hit, and the Bears cannot afford that right now. So, and plus DJ Moore is going to the second half of that 4-year, $110 million deal, which he signed before the start of last season. So, unless he gets traded, he will be back here next year. You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena hanging out here with you on the Monday Extravaganza edition. We're hanging out with our new guy, Peter Fonseca, a.k.a. Baloney, from The Baloney Show and from the Chicago Sports Bumps podcast. You can catch that tonight and every Monday night live at 8 p.m. right here on YouTube on the Chicago Sports Bumps YouTube channel. Pete, you know, I know your story a little bit about how you and the rest of the guys got started. Give our audience this backstory on how you guys got started with the podcast and with the tailgates as well. I know people thinking, oh yeah, they just shot it within the last year or two. Oh no, folks, they've been doing this for a while. So give our audience the backstory about how you guys got started with the podcast and the tailgates.
It's interesting. I appreciate you letting me tell a story, Sid, because it is almost like a two-part story. The Chicago Sports Bum started with myself, and my buddy, Jason, better known on the internet as HBIC. It was a blog years ago. I'm talking like a decade ago. We were blogging, you know, trying to be Deadspin, or a lot of people don't like Barstool, but like the Barstool-esque type of sports blogs. Or even like Bill Simmons was a fan. I was a big Bill Simmons guy. So like those type of like sports stories, but funny, you know, try to get people to laugh. So we did that for a couple years, but it never really took off. And this was while before we were married and I had kids and stuff like that. So like, it was just a fun thing to do. It never really took off. And then we stopped it. We just stopped doing the sports bum stuff. And then over COVID, of all things, because no one was doing anything and no one was really going out, we had a Zoom conversation between like 8 buddies of mine on a Friday night. And the argument was, who was better for the Bears, Kyle Orton or Mitch Trubisky? And it was just a random argument that we had. We sat on Zoom for about 4 hours, you know, having a couple drinks, making each other laugh, arguing. And after that Zoom call ended, I text Jason. I was like, man, we should have recorded that. That was kind of fun. That was like, I enjoyed it. That could have been a podcast, or that could have been something. Mm-hmm. So we did it. Next week, still COVID. No one's going out. I was like, let's run it back next Friday and start recording these as podcasts. So the first 60 episodes or so of the Bumcast were just audio only. We weren't on YouTube. We weren't doing anything. We were just putting those podcasts to the void. We didn't know if anybody was listening. We were recording on our phones with like no mics, no anything, but we're like, let's just keep doing this. And then we were invited on a couple podcasts of our own, or a couple friends, and we realized, like you guys and like a lot of people, were using StreamYard. And so that's when it clicked on us. I was like, instead of recording these on Zoom and just doing audio, I was like, let's get a StreamYard and start doing the YouTube. And that really was like the start of the Chicago Sports Bums and the Bumcast and everything else. We've always done tailgates just between ourselves, our friends. We were opening day every year. So it was just another way to just get our brand out there. Like, we're going to do tailgates. We might as well invite people. And I remember the first one that really took off. There's a video out there. Josh Nelson showed up to a tailgate. Josh Nelson of Sox Machine showed up to a tailgate, and it was just Joey P and Jason. There was maybe 4 people there, but he highlighted the food. He highlighted what he had going on, and slowly but surely they started building to where, like, Sid, you came to a couple, you shout us out, you give it, like, it's all word of mouth and it's all community building. At this point, we just feel like we're part of the White Sox Twitter and White Sox fan community, to where it's, like, I'll help you out on your show. You help us out on ours, and then like you promote us, and then we'll promote the 108. The 108 guys, I got to give them credit. They didn't have to, embrace us with open arms. They could have considered us competitors, but they were really gracious. They really, helped us grow. And everyone on White Sox Twitter, the all sports scene and everything else, like I mentioned, it's a community. So the tailgates really took off within the last 2 summers. 3. We've been doing them for like 3 seasons now, but the last 2 were really at like a growth, to the point where you can see the birthday hat there. The White Sox contacted us asking us if we wanted to throw a Southpaw 21st birthday. And that was the one where we felt like, oh, we kind of got something, or we made it. And I don't want to say like we made it, like, we still have full-time jobs. We're always going to have full-time jobs. This is more of a hobby for us, but it's growing to a point where, like, oh, we could keep doing this, and we should keep doing this. And Johnny, my cousin Johnny, the Southside Bum, he was on the first audio version of the podcast. And then we gained Dougie through meeting him and, just becoming friends. And then Joey P, we've known for 20 years. So it was easy to be like, hey, Joey, hop on a couple shows, do a couple content things with us. So now we're it's still a core group of friends, but, everyone's invited to the tailgates and whatever we do.
Well, Peter, I will try to come to a tailgate. I know Sid's been trying to get me to come out there, the last couple of years, but I will try. Like I said, spring and summers are usually a busy time for me, so yeah. I'll try to come on. But thank you so much again. This has been so much fun. So where people can find your podcasts and social media and all the other great stuff.
Yeah, the main thing is Shy Sports Bums on YouTube. We have our flagship show, the Bumcast, every Monday night, 8 p.m. We'll be live today, recapping the Super Bowl. And then our buddy Dougie Fresh, he's got an impending trip to Turkey with White Sox Dave of Barstool Sports for some hair plugs. He's getting hair plugs. It's called Bald Stool Season 2. So we're going to talk to Dave about his trip tonight on the show. I have my personal show. It's more pop culture and like comic books and nerd stuff. That's Wednesday nights. It's the Baloney Show. I just started that in November. And then we're all over, White Sox Twitter and anything like that. We're at Shy Sports Bums everywhere.
Sid?
All right, Peter. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. For coming on
Thank
to
you
the
guys.
podcast today. You guys have been great. Your wives have been great as well. Must continue success. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, LaKeena.
Yay. All right, that was Pete. All right, that was Pete Fonseca, aka Baloney from the Chicago Sports Bums. And of course, we got just a little bit of time. So Sid, let's switch gears here and talk a little old school TV Monday. Of course, whether it's TV shows, movies, specials, what have you, we do that. And especially since it's Black History Month, this is the second. We're going to be showcasing Black shows, some that ran long and some that didn't. So, and this is actually another one that's in the latter category. So tell people about it.
All right, for this week in Black History Month for Old School TV Monday on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, we're going to salute the ABC American sitcom That's My Mama. That's right. It was the first series to be produced by Columbia Pictures Television and originally broadcast for 39 episodes on ABC from September 4th of 1974 to December 24th of 1975. That's My Mama was never a rating success, but always having been beaten by NBC's Little House on the Prairie among other competing programs. It was not among the 30 most watched U.S. TV programs in the Nielsen ratings for their run. As a result, the series ended on Christmas Eve, 1975. The synopsis of the show was, it was set in the middle-class African-American neighborhood in Washington, D.C. The program revolved around the character Clifton Curtis, played by Clifton Davis, a man in his mid-20s who worked as a barber at Oscar's Barbershop, the family barbershop he had inherited from his late father. While Clifton enjoyed being the bachelor, his loving but tongue-tied and opinionated mother, Illinois' Mama Curtis, played by the late great Teresa Mary, wanted him to settle down and find a nice wife. Additional characters on the show, such as Clifton's two best friends, Earl, played by Teddy Wilson, and easygoing mailman, and Junior, played by Ted Lane, before the Love Boat. A suave and good-humored ladies' man came and went over the course of a typical day at Oscar's barbershop. Other characters including Tracy, Clifton's little sister, played by Lynn Moody, and later by Joan Pringle, and her husband Leonard, played by Lyle Wilson, as well as local seniors Josh and Wildcat, played by DeForest Coven and Jester Harrison, before Amen. Clifton Davis and Harrison would work together again years later, or as I mentioned, on the hit series Amen on NBC. The original title for That's My Mama was The First Family of Washington. 1 year before the series debut, ABC aired the pilot episode of this version, starring Merritt opposite of Godfrey Cambridge and her son Oscar as a one-off special.
Yeah, it was one of those shows that was really it wasn't a family sitcom, but it was more kind of like a young adult sort of thing. It was a little bit of That's My Mama walked so that 227 could run, because it was set in just outside DC, in a very middle class Black neighborhood. And this is definitely different. You had Oscar being Clifton, I should say, being the bachelor in the mid-20s. You didn't see that a lot, especially Black bachelors back then in the mid-70s on network television. So that's really, that really kind of like broke the mold there in that front. So his adventures and misadventures in dating. So that was actually kind of, and his mother, was like moms and sons. That's always the case where no woman's good for enough for her son, and also some of the other his own adventures and misadventures as well. But it was a really good show. Unfortunately, like you said, it was up against Little House on the Prairie on NBC. That was a rated juggernaut at the time, so it was hard to try to kind of try to find its rhythm, unfortunately. So the first season was good. I will say the second season was kind of all over the place. Although Helen Martin did come on later in season 2 as a recurring character as one of the neighbors. But yeah, it was a really good show. So would have lasted longer, maybe, but who knows? But look, if you have Tubi, if you have a legit email account, you can watch all 39 episodes on Tubi. So it's all 39 episodes are right there. So if you guys want to check it out, or if you want to relive some memories, go ahead. It's right there for you.
Yeah, you also watch some of those episodes too, right here on YouTube, and you can catch some of those classic episodes there. I'm with you. It was a very good show. Some of the kind of writing got crazy in season 2, but a lot of those actors that you know on the show outside of Clifton Davis, they had prominent roles like Theodore Wilson, who played the mailman. He was Sweet Daddy Williams on Good Times, another
Times, yep.
memorable character, and of course. Yeah, of course, the Reverend we talked about earlier, who played the Reverend in the 80s, Jester Harrison. I know he died about 25, 30 years ago. He would play the Reverend on Amen with Clifton Davis in the 80s. So he's another memorable character as well. But I thought it was a good show. Like you said, it wasn't a family show, but it was a situational comedy show. It was based in Washington, D.C. I know some people call it Chocolate City, but, just another aspect of African-American life, just working class people, how they live going about their everyday lives. So I thought it was a good show. They could have squeaked out another year or two. The writing kind of got solid and character development of certain other supporting characters, but I thought it was a good show for what it was, and it could have lasted a couple years longer.
Yeah, of course, Clifton Davis, who actually, if you forget, was a Grammy-winning songwriter at the time. So he had already won a couple of Grammys. He did a lot of theaters. He did a lot of theaters up to right before he signed on to That's My Mama as the lead character. They could have changed the character to Clifton, of course. Yeah, like I say, he was a rising star at the time. He's now on Beyond the Gates for all you soap opera fans. He's playing the patriarch of, ironically, an upper middle class family in DC, no less. So keeping up with the theme here for all these years later. Of course, Ted Lang, of course, will go on to do The Love Boat. Joan Priggle has done a lot of theater and television work as well. Helen Martin, of course, I know she passed away, I think, like 25 years ago. Lynn Moody, I think she's still acting in the theater as well. So yeah, a lot of those folks there were, actually went on to do good, great things on the theater and television movies. So even though the show ended, unfortunately, but a lot of them did go on to greater success. So it actually ended up working out pretty well for a lot of them.
So for this week, for Black History Month on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, we salute the ABC TV sitcom from the 1970s, That's My Mama. LaKeena, take us home.
You follow LaKeena McGee on the Twitter, execution, IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And if you missed our interview with, we want to thank once again Peter Fonseca, a.k.a. Baloney from the Chicago Sports Buzz, for joining us. If you missed that interview or any other interviews or other segments, don't worry. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Our numbers have been going up the last month, so please keep it going. Tell your friends about us. Get those numbers up.
Get them up.
Yep, and of course, you get not just our show, but replays of Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellows, and so much more. You can catch all the replays anytime, anywhere on Sports Chicago's Facebook YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right, enjoy the NBA, the men's and women's college hoops, of course, the Olympics, if you're into that. Of course, I think the USA men's hockey team, they believe, start their round robin play on Wednesday, and so much more. For Sid,
Thursday.
I'm LaKeena. Thursday, I should say. Thank you very much. For Sid, I'm LaKeena, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. And we have a special show coming up on Friday with the NBA All-Star weekend coming up. So make sure you guys tune into that. A little teaser to keep you guys going on to up until Friday. So we'll see you guys on Friday.
Holla!